Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Michelle. I am your emotional resilience coach. Thank you for joining me. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the notifications button. Today, we are talking about CPTSD and particularly emotional flashbacks and nightmares. So, those of you who don't know what CPTSD is, I'm going to give you a very quick rundown. Those who have been through prolonged trauma, so if you've grown up in a home of childhood abuse, you have CPTSD because it is prolonged, it is over time. You've been at the end of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, maybe even sexual abuse over a long period of time. You were not able to escape from it. There was no way as a child that you were able to have a voice. You didn't know how to have your own back. You are prone to dissociation. It's probably your number one go-to when things go wrong, is you just cut off, your brain goes foggy. You're not really here. You're very disconnected from yourself and from your life. You feel like you're going through in a bit of a daze, in a bit of a haze, where you are aware of what's going on, but you're not really with it either, because you've cut off a lot from your emotions, and in extreme cases, of course, you've even cut off from your logic and thinking and your rationale, because it's all too much, it's all too overwhelming. The brain shut down when you were really young to help you survive what it is that you were going through. And because it did that, and it was good for you because you did survive it, the downside is that you're not able to process it. You haven't learned how to process these things that have happened to you. And part of healing is learning to now process them and to be with these things, to mourn these things. You know, as a child, you wouldn't have been able to be given the opportunity to speak up, be angry, mourn, cry. Tears would have been shunned. Your tears would have been shut down as perhaps manipulation. And so you would have really, in some senses, been a bit of a zombie through your life, where you are there, but at the same time, you're not really there. So what happens is our brains, our psyches, it needs to heal. It needs to heal from all the things that we are suppressing, all the things that we are denying, all the things that we are trying to avoid, sweep under the carpet, and hope that they will go away on their own. Unfortunately, it does not work that way. The brain is going to want to sort through it. It's going to want to make sense of it, even if you are not prepared to do it cognitively on a conscious level. Your brain is going to sort through it unconsciously. And that's why you're going to have things like nightmares and emotional flashbacks. So for almost 2 years in my adult life, I had nightmares once a week, every week. And it exhausted me. You wake up, you feel exhausted, you feel on edge, you feel high anxiety. It's very difficult for you to just go through the motions of the day because anything can trigger you. You will go into an emotional flashback. You will be triggered to a point where your emotional response, and you know, and this is not right, but your emotional response to the time and the place is more suited to when you were a child, but it's happening now. It's because your brain is trying to process it all. It's trying to make sense of it all. And because we don't know how to do it, we don't necessarily have the tools to do it, it's trying to do it subconsciously, which is why we have things like overwhelm, why we have things like anxiety, why we're always so exhausted. Our body is always on high alert. We have the sense of hypervigilance, right? And what I did, and it's much better. The gaps now, I still every now and again have nightmares, but they happen maybe now once every 6 weeks, 2 months, sometimes even 3 months. I'll go and there will be no nightmares. And what I did to change it, what I did to make that shift, was I stopped fighting with my nightmares. I used to wake up in the early hours of the morning and I would be so cross with myself. I would be so angry. I'm doing all this work. I'm putting in all their tools and all the exercises, and this is still happening. And I used to get so frustrated, and I used to want to cry, and I used to want to scream, and it would just be a lot of overwhelm. And so what I did is I just stopped fighting with myself. And as soon as I stopped fighting with myself and allowed the process to just happen naturally, right? Our psyches, your psyche was deeply damaged. Your psyche is trying to make sense of it all. Your psyche is trying to get all the puzzle pieces to fit. Your psyche is trying to work through it, and is also trying to heal. And so our subconscious has been deeply damaged. It's no surprise that we're going to have nightmares and that we're going to have these things come out in our subconscious, because that is the level that we need it to really do its work on and to really heal. So 2 things that I did that really helped me is I stopped fighting with it. Yes, I still woke up exhausted. I still woke up sad. I still woke up sometimes with the sense of dissociation. But what you want to do in those places is be compassionate with yourself and say to yourself, this is helping me. This is for me. My brain is doing the work that it needs to do. And maybe take out a pen and paper and write what is happening, what is coming out in your dreams, what are the patterns that are coming out, what are the things that you can look at that perhaps is symbolic for you, that something happened, something is hiding in there. For me, I dreamt about snakes. For years and years and years, part of my nightmares had to do with snakes. Now, in our culture, when you dream about snakes, there's a very bad connotation to it. We feel that it's perhaps evil, that there's darkness associated with it. There is something not great about dreaming about snakes. We have a very negative connotation to it. And speaking to a colleague of mine the one day, we had a beautiful conversation. She has a very Eastern influence, and I love to learn from everybody. And she said to me, well, you know, in my culture, snakes are not necessarily bad. And when I started doing some research and when I started looking into it, I realized that snakes aren't actually bad. There is a very powerful symbol to it. It's a symbol for a lot of people of wisdom. And when I was able to do that shift in my brain, that my brain is trying to teach me, it's trying to tap into the wisdom instead of into someone's out to get me, somebody's against me, the world is against me, and I relaxed into my dreams, I was able to experience less and less of the anxiety that came with them. When I would wake up and I would feel emotionally finished, I would take a deep breath and say, it's okay. My subconscious is doing the work. So stop the battle with yourself, stop fighting with yourself, and write. Write about your dreams. Write about the messages that they are bringing to you. Write about the patterns that come up for you. See if you can find a pattern and if you can link the patterns. And what are you making these dreams mean? Is there another way you can reframe it where your brain is working for you, where your brain is trying to get you to heal, where your brain is trying to help you to see that this could be a good thing. There's a lesson here, there's growth here, there's learning here, there's a possibility that you have to evolve. When we stop fighting and we lean into compassion and we approach ourselves from a place of love and acceptance and awareness of what is going on with us is so key in our journey of healing. When you are able to do that and you realize that your brain is not betraying you. I know so often that you feel your brain is betraying you in the healing process, that your brain is trying to make sense of it for you so that it can help you in the healing process and you work with it. You will find that the nightmares, the emotional flashbacks, the horror, the absolute exhaustion that you wake up with, all of that becomes less and less and less of a thing. And when they do happen, you don't feel completely wiped out like you used to. I hope this helps. Please do let me know in the comments any thoughts that you may or may not have. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, the notifications button, and of course share. Have a most empowered